Nicolas Cage's latest film, The Retirement Plan, is in theaters now. Probably not for very long. It is an action comedy in which Cage stars as a grandfather with a very special set of skills. The basic story, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, is that some deal goes bad with this man who works for a very bad criminal type guy who's played by Earle Haley, who says the F word a lot, and who has Ron Perlman as one of his thugs. Things go very bad when this guy who's an employee of Earle Haley tries to rip off Earle Haley and manages to escape with barely with his life, but also with a flash drive, which strangely they call a hard drive throughout the film. But and that's like a modern movie thing. It used to be in the old days it was the microfilm, and then it was the discs, and now it's the hard drive. The number of movies around which revolve a flash drive. Now I'm doing it. The number of films that revolve around a hot potato game with a flash drive, you could write a book about. But basically, this guy escapes. He's got the hard drive. I said it again. He's got the flash drive, and he gives it to his wife, and he says, "Bad men are coming. You got to get her daughter out of here and keep her safe, and get this flash drive out of here." The flash drive and the daughter wind up going to the Cayman Islands to the estranged father of the wife, who is portrayed by Nicolas Cage with a big old Kenny Rogers beard and long scraggly gray hair, and he's like this weird doofy beach bum who we then learn, when danger comes to his doorstep, has a special set of skills, of course, which is shorthand for he can kill people really easily. So this film becomes a game of cat and mouse where the bad guys keep sending thugs down to the Caymans who keep getting killed by Nicolas Cage. They're trying to figure out, what's on this flash drive. It gets more complex. There's government agencies, there's politicians, there's master criminals, there's organized crime figures involved. And it's basically, I thought this was fine. I saw the original trailer and I thought, like most Nicolas Cage movies these days, wow, this looks terrible, and I'm surprised this is going to theaters. So I went in with, as I often do with stuff, low to no expectations on this. And I had fun with it, but I mean, cinematically, this is like a Netflix movie. And Netflix, there's nothing wrong with the Netflix movies. They usually have big names, and they're just usually not necessarily always big screen worthy. A lot of them are, but some of them are just kind of slight. They feel like straight to video, straight to cable, but with more of a budget. And that's kind of what this felt like. It wasn't anything wildly dynamic. The action was fine. The humor was okay, not terribly funny. I kind of wished it was funnier than it was throughout, and I wished some of the physical comedy, not that there's a lot, but some of the physical comedy was done a little bit differently, and the action is a little sloppy, but overall pretty good. You see a lot of stuntmen plying their trade, which I love. It's not green screen. This film probably couldn't afford it. It's not a lot of green screen and ridiculously shaky cam and close-ups and all that. There's some fun ideas. There's some fun little set pieces, and there's a lot of bad guys just being murdered by Nicolas Cage. It also features a decent number of familiar faces. I've mentioned most of them, but Ernie Hudson is also in this, and Ernie Hudson is dependably wonderful, as he is in this. And some people, unfortunately, whose names I could not recall, but they're faces that I recognize from decades past. So it's certainly a competent film. I saw it as a matinee, which is how I tend to go and see films most of the time. So at a matinee price, this is the kind of film that you could probably take your parents to go see and they would enjoy it, maybe more than the youth, which is not to say anything negative about the youth or the parents, but this is the kind of thing, like, I know my mother would probably enjoy watching this because it's breezy, it's light, despite, Nicolas Cage just killing a lot of people. How is Nicolas Cage in this movie? Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage in this movie. He's not the Nicolas Cage that people kind of fetishize, where he's like super weird and over the top. He is a little weird, but that's kind of what he does in most films for the last couple decades. He's funny-ish. He handles the action well enough. He or his double handles the action well enough. And it's just really, it's a pretty inconsequential movie, but I have to say that when it ended, I was like, I might watch another movie with him as this character. It's just this kind of beach bum dude who can take people out when need be, and again, as my friends will say, the number of Netflix films, and this isn't a Netflix film, but the number of Netflix films that start with the descriptor, a former assassin, or a team of a former assassin. It's one of those movies, but so it is kind of in a way like Taken meets Grumpy Old Men, maybe you would call it that. Anyway, The Retirement Plan was, I would say, inoffensive, but they say the F word a lot, and there's blood and a lot of profanity. But Ron Perlman is likable, not great in this, but likable. He's playing kind of a goofy Goomba kind of character. And Jackie Earle Haley says the F word so often that I'm no prude, and I say it probably more than my fair share in when I'm off camera. But so many movies since Tarantino that really lean into overuse of the F word and profanity, it just seems phony to me. Like, I'm like, this seems written. Like, it doesn't seem natural. Haley was okay. I'm not sure if he was the best choice for the role, but he's cool. It's cool to see Kelly Leak so many decades later in a movie as like the kind of grizzled, bloodthirsty mafia boss kind of guy who's willing to kill kids. The little girl in it is wonderful. It's a decent matinee that probably will be forgotten in no time, but if you're looking to see a movie that's not one of the majors that's been hogging up the screens for a while, if it's a rental, if it's a streamer, whenever you wind up watching this, Retirement Plan, of all of the scores of Nicolas Cage films that have been cranked out straight to video and so forth in the last decade or two, is probably one of the better ones that I've seen, but I tend to avoid them, so that really doesn't mean much of anything. In theaters currently, The Retirement Plan.